Okay, so think about the last game you played. Was it some huge global franchise? Maybe a mobile game you just can't seem to put down? Well, today we're going to talk about who is quietly and very strategically buying up the companies that make them. I mean, seriously, whether you're cruising around in Grand Theft Auto, exploring ancient tombs in Tomb Raider, or even catching creatures in Pokemon Go, you have almost certainly spent hours inside worlds built by companies that now have a very powerful new investor. Because what's happening right now, behind the scenes, is that a new global superpower is moving very fast to buy up a massive slice of the entire video game industry. And trust me, the answer is probably not who you think it is. Yep, we are talking about Saudi Arabia. And look, they are not just dipping a toe in the water here. This is a multi-billion-dollar cannonball right into the deep end of the gaming world. They're aiming to become a dominant force, period. This is the number you need to remember, $38 billion. That's the war chest that Saudi Arabia has handed over to its gaming entity, the Savvy Games Group. To put that in perspective, that's not just an investment. That's enough cash to build a global gaming empire from scratch. And here's where it gets real. We're not talking about some obscure indie developers. Through its public investment fund, Saudi Arabia is now a major shareholder in absolute household names like Nintendo, Take-Two, the Grand Theft Auto people, and Embracer, which owns the Tomb Raider IP. It's gotten to the point where if you play a major video game today, there is a very, very good chance Saudi Arabia owns a piece of it. So naturally, this leads to the biggest question of all. Why, right? Why pour tens of billions of dollars into video games, of all things? Well, it turns out it's not just one reason. It is a very calculated strategy with a few key goals in mind. You can really break their whole master plan down into three big buckets. There's a personal motivation, a long-term economic vision, and a really strategic political goal. So let's dive into each one. First up, the personal angle. It turns out Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is a huge gamer himself. Apparently, he's a big fan of what used to be called FIFA, now EAFC, and his ambition here is massive. He's not just trying to buy studios, he wants to build a Disney of video games, a whole entertainment ecosystem. And this shows how that Disney vision is already becoming a reality. You know how Disney has its theme parks for live experiences? Well, Saudi Arabia is building a live gaming empire through esports. By buying up major competitive gaming leagues and companies, the kingdom now controls roughly 40% of the entire global esports industry. Okay, next is the economic reason. This number, 39,000, that's how many new gaming jobs Saudi Arabia wants to create by the year 2030. This is a huge piece of their national project to diversify the entire Saudi economy away from its dependence on oil. They see gaming as a core pillar of their economic future. And finally, we've got the political angle. This is where this idea of soft power comes into play. Think about it. Gaming is the biggest media business on Earth. It's bigger than movies and music combined. So if you control a huge part of it, you gain this incredible ability to help shape culture and influence how people see things on a global scale. Now, this whole strategy has led some critics to start asking a tough question. Is this a form of game washing? They're wondering if this is an attempt to use the fun, creative, and positive image of the video game industry to improve the country's international reputation, kind of like the sports washing accusations we've seen leveled against their investments in things like golf and soccer. So this brings us to the really crucial question for all of us who play games. What does all of this investment mean for the games themselves? Are the stories we play and the characters we love, are they going to start to change? There's actually a really powerful parallel we can look at, what happened between Hollywood and China. As the Chinese box office became absolutely critical for a movie's success, American studios became, let's say, very careful about producing films with subjects that might be sensitive to the Chinese government. So the big question now is, will we see a similar dynamic in gaming as Saudi Arabia's financial influence gets bigger and bigger? And we're already seeing what some people are calling a Saudi accent start to appear in games. For example, Ubisoft just announced that some upcoming levels for its giant franchise Assassin's Creed are going to be set in a very specific city in Saudi Arabia, a city that the country happens to be heavily promoting for tourism. And check out this other wild example. Fans of the classic Japanese fighting game Fatal Fury were pretty surprised when it was announced that soccer legend Cristiano Ronaldo was going to be a new playable character. So what's the connection? Well, the game's developer is majority owned by a Saudi foundation, and Ronaldo is the captain of a Saudi soccer team, which is also owned by the state's investment fund. It's a perfect little cross-promotional loop. All right, let's zoom all the way out and just put this all in perspective. Why does it matter so much who owns the gaming industry anyway? Well, just look at the sheer scale of it all. Video games aren't just a niche hobby anymore. They are the single biggest entertainment industry on the entire planet. They absolutely dwarf the global film and music industries combined. And when you control the dominant cultural medium of our time, that comes with a ton of influence. And that really leaves us with this one big thought to chew on. We're watching a massive, fundamental shift in who holds the keys to our biggest and most interactive form of entertainment. So the question we all have to start asking ourselves is this: as the centers of global power continue to move, will the very nature of the stories we play and the digital worlds we escape into inevitably shift right along with them?